Hi guys, this is Miss Ruiz. Today we're going to learn about multiplying rational numbers. So please make sure you title your paper and you put today's date on it. Let's get started. Okay, so for multiplying rational numbers, we know that rational numbers are numbers that we can write as fractions. So that's going to include integers, positive, negative numbers, and zero. It's going to include fractions and decimals are all rational numbers. So we're going to be multiplying these numbers. Now, the rules that we learned for multiplying integers are still the same rules that we're going to use when we're multiplying rational numbers. So I know you've already got this in your notebook, but we're going to do it again. So for multiplying and dividing only, remember that we only use these rules for multiplication and division. When we are multiplying or dividing two numbers and they are both positive numbers, our answer will also be positive. The same goes for when we are multiplying or dividing two negative numbers, our answer will also be positive. The only time we're going to get a negative answer in multiplication or division is when the signs are different. One of the numbers is positive and the other one is negative. It doesn't matter the order. Remember, so it doesn't matter the order. Multiplication and addition have the commutative property, which means one of the numbers can be negative, the other one can be positive. Either way, this answer is going to be a negative answer. Okay. So let's try this with decimals first, and then we're going to go into fractions. So here, for example number 1, we've got positive 2 being multiplied by a negative 3 5/10. So my answer is going to be negative because one of the numbers is positive, the other one is negative. And now all I need to do is just multiply. So one of the things I want you to remember when you are multiplying decimals is that we do not worry about lining up decimal points like we do with addition and subtraction. So please make sure you note that. When we are multiplying decimals, we do not concern ourselves with lining up decimal points. That only applies to addition and subtraction. So I'm going to set up my multiplication, 3 5/10 multiplied times 2. Okay, so I'm going to have 2 times 5 is 10, carry that 1. 2 times 3 is going to give me 6, times 1 is going to give me 7. Okay, so now the question is, where do I put my decimal? So you do your multiplication, and then you go back to the original problem. You want to look to see how many numbers in your entire problem are to the right of a decimal point. So if you look, there's a decimal point in the 3 5/10, and there is only one digit that we find after a decimal point, which means I need to put my decimal point after one digit. So the answer to this will be a negative 7 or 7.0. Why don't you pause and try number 2? Okay, so now that you've paused it, hopefully you've done it this way. So the first thing you're going to look at is determine whether your answer is going to be positive or negative. So if you look here, I have two numbers that I'm multiplying and they're both negative. So that's just like the middle situation here. My answer is going to be positive. And so now all we have to concentrate on is the actual multiplication. 15 6/10 multiplied by 2. So here we're going to have 2, 12, 10, 11, and 3. So 31 and 2/10 is going to be my answer. And I know that because, again, I go into the original problem and I find that there is only one digit that comes after the decimal point, that comes to the right of a decimal point. So I need to have the same thing in my answer, only one digit to the right of the decimal point. Okay, so for number 3 and 4, what I would like for you to do is you're going to try 3 and 4, and I'm going to go over these and check them in class when I check your notes. So when I check your notes, I'm going to be looking for your work and your answer for number 3 and for number 4. Let's move on to fractions now. So with fractions, when we're multiplying fractions, one of the distinctions that we want to make between adding and subtracting fractions to multiplying is that we do not need common denominators for multiplying fractions. We're just going to simply multiply across, simplifying whenever we can or whenever it's necessary. So for number 5, I have a positive 4 multiplied by negative 1/2. So right away, I'm going to make my decision and determine that this is going to be a negative answer. And now I only have to concern myself with the actual calculation. I'm not going to worry about the signs anymore. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 1/2. Now, 4, you would want to write the 4 as a fraction. So it's an integer. We write it over 1, and we're going to multiply that times 1/2. I'm leaving out the negative because I've already determined my answer is going to be negative. And when we multiply fractions, if you remember, you simply multiply the numerators and then the denominators, simplifying whenever you can. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 1, and that's going to give me 4. And 1 times 2 is going to give me 2. And if I look, I have 4 over 2. Well, we know that fractions are division, and I can simplify this to a 4 divided by 2, which is going to equal 2. And my answer will be then a negative 2. Okay. Why don't you pause, try number 6 on your own, and see if you do it like me. All right, now that you've paused and tried number 6, hopefully you got the answer of a positive 3 and 1/3. And let's see how that is. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is determine if my answer is going to be positive or negative. Negative 5 times a negative 2/3. Well, this is a negative multiplied by a negative. My answer will be positive. And then I'm just going to multiply 5 over 1 times 2 over 3, or 2/3. And I'm going to multiply the numerators. 5 times 2 will give me 10 in my numerator. 1 times 3, 3 in my denominator. And this is an improper fraction. So we want to simplify this to a mixed number. Well, how many times can I take 3 out of 10? I can take 3 groups of 3 out of 10, which would be 3 times 3, that's 9. What's the difference from 9 to 10? There's 1. That's my numerator. And your denominator will always stay the same. So 1 and 1/3 is the answer to number 6. All right. And wrapping the video up, I'd like for you to try and do number 7 and number 8. We're going to go over these in class together. So in class, I will be checking your homework notes and looking for responses on number 3, number 4, number 7, and number 8. And then we'll go over these in class. In class, we're also going to go a little bit more in depth on what we do when we have 3 fractions and how we can simplify inside of the fraction. And we're also going to work on these on number lines. So I'll see you in the next class. Bye.